So Pastor Jim has asked me to preach today. No, lucky for you, I'm just kidding. But he did ask me to come up and just spend a couple minutes talking about my relationship with Jesus. And, I was no stranger to the Christian faith, and I grew up in a Christian home and fully knew the Bible and what it said and what Jesus was all about. The problem was, and I think I can take this and probably twist it around, the problem was I followed me. When I got to be an adult, I decided I didn't have time or room for God. So I can look back on the times and see that God in many cases had invited me to follow him, invited me to have a relationship with him, and I didn't have time. He was always faithful, though, to be there for me because, of course, hindsight's 20/20. So we can look back and see how God worked in our life. He sent a godly woman into my life, and I didn't have time for the church that she wanted to invite me to each week, who I'm married to now, thankfully. So luckily she had the patience to stay with me too. And God's always patient. So the problem was that I followed the world, and I had my own agenda, and I had my own things to do. And that didn't go too well for me. I think most of you know my story, and that got me into prison. So I was basically a whole different animal. And until I had hit rock bottom, I didn't have room for Jesus in my life. I'm probably the extreme example of somebody that just went from, a whole 180. But I remember the day that I accepted Christ and just the release and just the overwhelming feelings that I had. I mean, it was a transformation. I went back from being in a dark cell and through the glass, and I prayed the prayer of salvation with my father-in-law. And I remember going back and just being full of just hope and happiness. And at the darkest point in my life, when you thought you had lost everything, now I'm on top of everything. Everything's like awesome. And people are like, why are you smiling? Why are you so happy? And I'm sharing Christ with everyone. And it's just an amazing experience that God transformed my life. So I went from, running around with guns and manufacturing methamphetamine to, that white picket fence marriage. I moved to a whole different town, new friends. I left everything. And I think until I finally had that resolve to put Christ first in my life and everything, finances, put Christ first in my marriage, put Christ first in raising our kids, to put Christ first in everything, I didn't truly get the blessing of what God was offering me. And that's the awesome thing, because God was always faithful and had patience while he waited on me to come around. Now, it took a lot for me to come around, and I think all of us have God talking to us in different parts of our life where he's saying something to us, and maybe we're ignoring it, or we don't have time for that, or we want to do our own thing. But when you fully commit and turn everything in your life over to God, when you've lost everything and you have to turn your life over to God because that's all you have left, God is faithful to bring those blessings to you. So that's my story. So